YouTube, this is Tube Digger. In this video I'm going to share with you one of my favourite workflows, which I call the one sequence workflow. This workflow involves literally one sequence which will eventually end up as your entire song. There's no need to use additional sequences, but additional tracks and programs can be used. The reason that I like this workflow is obviously you don't have multiple sequences to manage or organise in the song mode. I do really like the song mode and I use it quite a lot, but over the years and months I've grown to really love the one sequence workflow, which is my main workflow that I use. It also solves the problem of getting bored of just a simple loop and you don't know how to flesh out your track. So basically the idea is that you create an amount of bars that are manageable, and you can also double the length of that to 32 bars if you just need a bit more space for some additional variation and changes. So the initial 16 bars have got a bit of expansiveness and don't get too boring. But the idea is that you carry on duplicating using the double length feature of the MPC. Now I like to make jungle and drum and bass most of the time. So 256 bars is pretty much around 6 minutes worth of a song at 170 beats per minute. But for this demo I'm going to create a simple boom bap hip hop beat, and that's probably the easiest way for me to show you how the one sequence workflow works. So before I get into the video, I just want to thank all my current subscribers, anyone that's liked and shared my videos, anyone that follows and supports me on social media, and of course anyone that's been kind enough to donate to this channel. If you'd like to do that yourselves to help me out, there's a PayPal link in the description. I also offer private one-to-one lessons over Skype, Google Hangouts or Zoom, whatever you prefer. If you're interested in finding out more information about those, please contact me at tubedigger@gmail.com for more details. There's my email address in the description. Also, you can visit my website www.tubedigger.com/lessons, and that will show you all my current prices for private lessons. So, the one sequence workflow. As said, this avoids having to use multiple sequences and is somewhat similar to how a traditional DAW works, in the sense that you've just got one sequence, multiple tracks with multiple sounds on those tracks. You don't have to manage additional sequences or stitch them together to make a whole song. Some people prefer to use separate sequences because it's the traditional way to use an MPC, but I prefer to use this one sequence workflow simply because we've got the grid editor here, and although we don't get a multiple track view, it's only per track or the track that you're actually focused on, but we can actually zoom around and look around all the note data. Now I can't move this at the moment because I've only got 2 bars. I can just simply change that up the top here. So the idea with the one sequence workflow is, as I said before, you don't have multiple sequences to manage, and you basically create your first 16, maybe 32 bars. You copy those over, so you flesh out the track so it's in its full length or as long as you would like it, and then you reverse engineer it by stripping sections away from the start so it slowly builds up over time, and then you can do the same as the song slowly tapers off to an end. So first of all I'm going to go to the browser and I'm just going to load in some simple sounds and make a really simple kit. So this kick drum's fine. I'm going to press my first pad here. So I'm going to choose this kick that's already selected here. Got a kick. Go to drums and get a snare. That's fine. And a hi-hat. Now obviously you can make your kit more elaborate. That's fine. So back to the main page. Now we've got a simple drum kit in program 001. I'm going to lay that beat down. I'm going to change my bars back to 2 bars. So this is how you would start an MPC project. You're always given a default bar amount of 2, and that allows you to put a simple beat down to get the actual idea going. So I'm going to put that down. I'm going to first of all change my BPM, so just using my data wheel I'm going to go back down to 85 beats per minute. Before I put the beat down, I'm just going to go to the track mix. Whenever you load in any expansion sounds, I find that you have to bring your program volume, or at least individual pad volumes, down to about -9, -10 dB. and it just gives you a lot more headroom to play with, and it's still going to be really loud. The MPC X, the MPC 1, the MPC Live and Live 2 and the Akai Force, they all kick out quite a good hot signal, so you don't really need these to stay at 0 dB. And before you start making music, I always recommend to bring these down to give you this headroom and this space. Okay, so it was a bit off, but the time correction sorted that out. So we've now got a simple 2-bar beat in this one sequence that we're going to use for the entire song. Obviously you want an additional sound now, or sounds. I'm just going to lay a simple melody down using the built-in electric plugin. So I'm going to go to track 2, switch the program type with the 6 icons here in the middle to plugin. Now I've got my MPC in controller mode at the moment, so I could use a VST, but I'm going to use something that everyone's going to have on their MPC if you're in standalone mode. On the MPC 1 you can quickly press 16 levels twice and access pad performance mode, or you can just simply press pad perform here. I might use progressions. Okay, that's fine. So I'm just going to put this in over the 2 bars. That sounds okay. I'm just going to add a bit of movement to this using the tremolo. We've got drums, or we've got our melody and drums. Now I'm just going to put a simple bass line in. So we're on track 3 now. I'm going to switch back to drum programs. It's still viewing our one and only drum program. Now I could use this for the bass, but I want to keep it separate. So I'm going to press the plus symbol, and now we've got program 003, which is a completely blank drum program. I'm going to go to browse, and I'm going to go to my expansions, and I'm just going to type in bass and just find a bass note that I can make a simple bass line out of. Okay, I'm going to use that because there's quite a lot of variation in that, and I can chop that up over several pads. So I'm going to press the pad lights up, it's ready for me to load the sample. The sample's now there. Go to Program Edit, Samples page. If I press the copy button, then press on the grid, press additional pads, they light up red, and now I can copy those, or this pad, to the other pads. And because it's a bass sound and I've got multiple copies that I want to kind of chop between, I'm not going to put them in a mute group. Instead, it's a lot quicker to just change the program polyphony to mono. And now they won't overlap. Go to the samples page, and I'm going to choose my end anchor for this first pad, bring that back. So we've isolated that. Now there's a click, that means I've just got to move it away from a point where it's clicking, should I say. Next pad. If you can't find a point that doesn't click, which is quite often the case with bass sounds, I recommend that you flatten the pad. So you use this arrow up the top here, flatten the pad, and just press do it. Then we can go to the sample editor. That's our new bass sound that we've just made. Move the start point all the way to the end, press process and choose fade out. And now we've got a smoother sound that doesn't have a click. So just move the start point back to the start of the sample. Perfect. Let's go back to program edit. Now there's still a little click on there, so I'm going to do the same for this. Pad AO1, and there's no audio tail needed. Press do it. Let's go to sample edit again. Grab the start point, move it across, process, fade out, do it. Move that back to the start. Still a little bit of a click there, but that's okay. We could probably get rid of that with a low pass filter. It's got quite a nice little pitch kind of bend in there. Let's flatten that. And back to sample edit. Let's fade out the end again. That's done. You're using the start and end points to select your portion of the sample. So we've got 2 notes there. We could of course repitch these afterwards if they don't work with the chords that I've already put in with the electric plugin. That sounds okay. Let's see what happens if we flatten it. It's a tiny click, and it's also a little bit quieter than the others. So let's go to sample edit, process, and I'm going to normalize this to give it a bit of volume. Scroll to the end, go to fade out, do it. Now, as you can see, it's going to be quite loud now in comparison to the others. So we can go to pad mix. So it's track mix. If we double tap track mix twice, we're in the pad mixer. So you can hear that's a lot louder. So I can just simply bring that down so it's in context with the other pads. And you can hear that this pad 3, the sound on there, let's go to program edit. Got a bit of a click at the start, and we can simply fix that by just going to the filter envelope page, amplitude envelope, which is this bottom envelope, and just move that across, or move the attack to a higher value. And that's gone now. Now our first pad's got a little click on the end of it still. So again, back to sample edit. This is our first pad. Let's just fade that out. See if that fixes that. So I think the problem is here. Okay, let's now discard. So that gets rid of everything that was outside the selection. That's fine now. I'm just going to jam these around with what we've got with the drums and the chords that I put in with the electric plugin. I can't remember whether they'll work at the moment. Let's just see. Perfect, they work. Sound great to me. So I'm going to put those in. That's fine. Now that's going to get quite repetitive over and over again, but we can add other stuff over the top to make it more elaborate. So it's at this point where I go, okay, I don't want this loop to go on and on and on. So to easily start fleshing this track out, we go up to the pencil icon in the sequence area, and we can double the length of this. So I'm going to double length once. Now we've got 4 bars, twice, 8 bars, 3 times, 16 bars. And you can see that up the top there, 16 bars. This means now that we probably need some additional sounds, just initially, so I don't have to start making additional chords and get too complex for the sake of this video. If I was doing this on my own for myself, I would be going in quite deep on the bass and changing up little notes within the bass, within the bass line that I've created, and I would be changing some of the chords. I might do that quickly now. I just don't want this to become a separate kind of tutorial. I want the sequencing to be the main idea. So I'll probably just do a couple of little change ups on the chords and see if that gives us some variation, and then I'll leave it at that, and then I'll just show you the main idea of how to stay within the one sequence workflow. So let's go back to the grid and let's take a look at the chords. We can just zoom out a little bit. So we can grab the whole chord that's here from bar 4 to 5, and we can just simply choose transpose and transpose that using the data wheel now. Now, I'm not too sure if this is going to work because it might shift some of the notes into the wrong kind of key, but let's just bring it down 2 and see how that sounds. That sounded a bit off. So you can just grab a whole chord and then just transpose it down an amount of notes, or transpose it up and find the one that works and stays harmonic. So that's quite nice, and I can continue to do that. So let's go from bar 5. No, that was too high. Let's just bring it back again to bar 5. Now we don't have to keep changing that same chord, so we can grab another chord. Let's grab these ones that are just in the short notes here. And we're nearly at the end of the 16 bars, so we can simply just grab maybe this chord here. Let's see how that sounds. So I'm just going to grab one note now out of this chord. So let's just shift it right up to there. And bring this back. Perfect, so that all sounds nice and harmonic. Now, we've got some variation over the 16 bars. So whether you do what I've just shown you by adjusting some chords or make some little change ups in the bass, and you can of course easily do some additional rhythms with your drums, as long as those 16 bars are interesting and it's not just containing a repeat of those initial 2 bars, then you've formed what can be the main basis of the song, which will allow you to copy your bars over a longer period of time, or expand them to be somewhat in line with a full-length song. Now with hip-hop at 85 beats per minute, I'm going to take a wild guess that maybe 128 bars will be about 3 minutes. I might be wrong, but I'm going to use that anyway. So that means we need to copy or double the length of our sequence. Once, 32 bars, twice, 64 bars, 3 times again, and we're at 128 bars. So the idea is that now we're still in one sequence. We've used multiple tracks, so we've only got 3 tracks in this demonstration, but of course you can have a 4th track with sound effects on it, a 5th track with some vocal samples. You can use an audio track if you're an MC or a vocalist, and you can just sing over this. But whatever you add to this main skeleton or main structure of the song is entirely up to you. The idea is that you can now see a full overview of your song as you could in a DAW. I'm just going to do a bit of housekeeping and take my own advice. I'm going to change the track name to bass, and the plugin that's on that track is a drum program where we've got our bass sounds, so I'm going to change that to bass. So track 3 is bass, track 2 is well, it's the electric, but I'm just going to call it Rhodes, which is simple, and I'm going to change the plugin name to Rhodes. And the same again for track 1, drums. So 3 kind of main elements, and I don't want the bass to immediately come in. I also don't want the drums to come in immediately. And because we've mapped them out over 128 bars, we can now start reverse engineering the track. So the easiest way for me to do that is go to Erase, or on the drums, or on the drums track. Now we can see we've got a range here which covers the full amount of bars in this sequence. So it's 1 to 129, or the start of bar 129. So all we need to do is change this to 9. Now what I could do is change it to 8 and then go to the beat. So we've just got maybe the last snare coming in. So I'm going to change that to 8.2.0. So that will leave me a nice little lead in for where the drums start. If we go into the grid editor for where the drums were, and let's just go back to the start, you can see that I've literally just erased, maybe a few notes out of that last bar where they originally were. Now it wasn't enough. I should have chosen a different beat count. I just want the drums to be led in by like the last snare of this last bar. So I can simply press and hold Shift with these notes selected and cut. And that should just lead that into where the drums start. I'm going to go up to bass. Let's go to Erase from bar 1 up to bar 17. So I'm just going to erase that. So you get the idea. I've just erased a couple of things from the bass and the drums, and we're starting to form the song. And you can do that anywhere along the sequence. Obviously you can get to a point and just cut something out. So I could have left, like I did with the drums, a few of the last notes to lead the bass line in. But that's generally the idea. It's so simple. You form your initial 16 bars. You can also double those to 32 and again make that a bit more elaborate, and then just keep duplicating from there. But generally I like to get everything done in a smaller but not so small that it's really repetitive space, or bar length, or bar count should I say, and then duplicate that so you've got the main basis of your track, and it's a simple case of just stripping stuff away, and there's no need to have additional sequences. So obviously this is for people that prefer to work in a more linear song kind of way, and they don't want to use the song mode of the MPC. Like I said before, I really like using it. It's handy if you prefer working in one sequence and getting that locked, go to another sequence. But I find that this is one of the most efficient workflows, and it's the one that I use the most these days for my own productions. There's other tools that we could use. We could go up to the sequence edit menu, and you've got events here. So we can copy events. So if there's a section of the track, say maybe from bar 33 up to bar 40, or the start of bar 41, which would be 8 bars, and you can copy that and place that further on in the song, and it's the same process really. So you would just literally type here bar 33, So that's the start of the portion you want to copy, and we go to 41. Sorry, that didn't register. 41, do it. So that will just copy everything from bar 33 to bar 41, and then we would just place it wherever we want. So we could place it at bar 65. So you'll notice that they're all odd numbers. So that will copy these 8 bars to there. You can choose the amount of copies as well. So this is copy events. Now, before I actually go out of there, you can replace the events that are already at bar 65 with these events in this range, or we can just merge them. So there might be something on one of your tracks where you just want to merge those events with the events that are already at bar 65 and onwards. So you've got all the tools that you need in here with the sequence edit menu. We can actually copy bars easily from here, so that will copy the entire bars from a particular sequence, and we can again replace and merge. So I'll let you guys experiment with all those different facilities, but this is the main idea. I'll just give you a quick summary again. You make your first 16 bars using 3 or 4 tracks just to make it somewhat elaborate. Make some change ups within that 16 bars, so you're not just repeating 2 bars. I think for this tempo as well, because it's a bit slower, you can get away with 16 bars. With something like jungle and drum and bass, I do quite often work within 32 bars, and then I use that as my main basis of the track, which I duplicate. So I hope you've enjoyed the video, guys. Please like, share, subscribe, and if you want private lessons, please contact me at tubedigger@gmail.com. Please stay tuned for more videos. I will see you on the next one. This is Tube Digger, and I'm out.